Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NBA Front Office Show. I am Trevor Lane, joined by Keith Smith. Keith, Cyber Monday now is technically come and gone. Did you happen to do any online shopping?
Did I bought some books. I'm on
Oh,
this Mount Everest kick right now where like I can't read enough books about people climbing Mount Everest. So I bought a couple books about Mount Everest and that's it.
how crazy is it that they now use the bodies of people who didn't make because it's too dangerous to pull them down are
Yeah.
now used as like marker points of how far you've actually traveled on Mount Everest?
Yeah.
Like really creepy, but also kind of fascinating too.
It's kind of gross, but I mean that's part of what it is. There's a part of the mountain called Rainbow Valley, which they call it that because of like the bright jackets of like
Yeah.
climbers who have died that have fallen off that are still visible. But a lot of times now what they're doing is they send up teams and they'll remove them out of view and then like cover them over like just as a sign of respect. But
Right.
yeah, one of the books it's an old book. They made a movie about it and everything, called Into Thin Air by John Krakauer. I have never read it and I always wanted to, so I picked that up. It was like $5 on a deal.
Nice.
So I was like, oh, let me get that. And then I get another one. It's all about the business of climbing Mount Everest and like what a like huge business it has become and how dangerous it is and all that. And it came highly recommended. So I don't know why I get on these kicks on certain subjects, and I was like, yeah, I want to read more about it. So a couple books. What about you?
I did not. I didn't buy it. Well, no, I've got a Lakers hat that's on the way, so I've got
Okay,
that.
there
But
you go.
but other than that, I didn't really buy much on Cyber Monday. I just wound up getting pulled away by so many other things that I could never like sit down and focus on looking through deals and stuff like that. So, but that's okay. Probably for the best. Um, we do have plenty of basketball to talk today. We've got to talk about LeBron and what's going on with him. We got to talk about Dalton Knecht, not just Lakers stuff though. We got some two-way moves to get into, some trade stuff to talk about, the Warriors, their rotation, all kinds of things to get into. So all of that is my way of saying make sure you do subscribe to the channel, turn on those notifications as well. Hit that subscribe button, everybody. We certainly would appreciate it. All right, Keith, my Lakers not doing so well recently, certainly struggling right now. And the person who's particularly struggling, it's LeBron James. He is on an 0 for 19 slide from behind the arc over the last 4 games. Can't seem to hit a shot, and the turnovers starting to become a problem. Maybe LeBron finally starting to look his age a bit here. JJ Redick last night, Lakers coach, after the game, hinted that perhaps LeBron's goal of playing all 82 games is simply not what's best for the team or for LeBron or really anybody involved. Keith, where are you at on LeBron James? Is it time to come off of this? You're going to play every night and maybe start to load manage a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. I think that is a classic case of lose the battle to win the war kind of
Mm-hmm.
deal for the Lakers because it's admirable. Fully get it. I think he's maybe trying to send a message. Hey, if I can do this deep into my career, like other guys, like get out there and play. There's actually, I don't know if you've noticed, there's been a handful of players have made comments in the media over the last couple of weeks about, well, I didn't want to miss the game. My goal is to play. Some of us want to play both ends of back to
Yeah.
back. Some of us want to be on the floor and take it clearly. I think thinly veiled shots at some of their co-workers, I guess, if you will, that don't necessarily want to play. So I fully respect LeBron for doing it. I think JJ left the door open with his, hey, look, if he feels good and he, is available to play, like he should play. But I think there's a little bit of we might need to save himself because my take has been watching the last couple games, and I was able to watch yesterday's game in full. He looks tired. Like that's the single biggest thing. There's no
Yeah.
he has like no lift on his jumper right now. I mean, they are like complete set shots. And then his drives to the basket, there's very little explosion. And I mean, I'm the last person you need to hear this from, but defensively, he's just kind of meh. Like he's just not really engaged, doesn't really get back right now. And I think maybe a game or so off, game or two, you maybe get one of those where you have a couple extra days off, spot him. We kind of get him almost a 3-day rest that way, and maybe that'll do him a lot of good to get him back feeling good again.
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly the frequency of games they've played. What, 4 games in 6 days, something like that, maybe less, maybe 5 days. Yeah, I mean they've been playing a lot lately. It's been sort of a packed schedule. I think that's certainly part of it. But I do wonder with LeBron, is it as simple as just allowing him to take some days off? And I know right now the Lakers, the unfortunate part, and this is really the if you want to put any blame on the front office, it's they don't have a roster that can withstand him being gone because they don't have anybody else. It's him and Rui that can play the power forward position, Rui Hachimura right now, and that's really it. You've got 2 guys that could play the power forward position. Otherwise, it's somebody masquerading as a 4, like Cam Reddish or someone like that with Jared Vanderbilt, who we got news on today. He's now looking at maybe an early January return because he's got fluid in his knee now. Foot issues, now issues with his knee. If I'm the Lakers, I'm not counting on Jared Vanderbilt coming back anytime soon. I don't think you can count on him moving forward. But on LeBron, Keith, I do wonder, is it maybe a combination of a couple things? Because I think the net result is if you get a better LeBron for the minutes that he's out there, that's going to be a positive for the Lakers. Because right now, the LeBron that we're seeing is not going to help you win a whole lot of games. You need the LeBron they saw at the beginning of the year that was shooting at a much higher rate, that was not turning the ball over, that was doing all of those things. So I do wonder if it's a combination of, number one, taking the odd night off every now and then just to rest and recover. And he's going to be 40 this month. I don't think there's any shame in doing that, given his age. But number two, do you also consider shortening his minutes? I mean, you look at Tim Duncan, look at Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, look at what happened to the minutes that they were playing per game as they got later in their career. Is it just too much to ask LeBron to play 35 minutes? And again, the Lakers, to their discredit, have not given the roster, given JJ Redick or the team the roster that would allow them to necessarily cut into his minutes. But maybe we're at a point where it doesn't matter and you have to do both of those things. I don't know. How do you weigh it, Keith? Limiting minutes in game versus taking whole games off? And do you think it's a situation where you actually have to do both?
Yeah, that's where I was going to go. I was going to be that meme of the little girl. Why not both? Right? Because like that's what I think you need to do. You need to scale back his minutes in games a little bit. I'm not nothing drastic, but let's get him down around 32, 33 minutes a game. That feels about the right spot. But then, a whole day off. And you have to make sure it's truly, you need to take a whole day off. Do your recovery stuff, do your treatment, but no going out there warming up like you're going to play and all that stuff. Because that's what people miss, I think, with this is that's why you need to really say you are out tonight. Like there is no question about it. No, let's warm up. See how you're out. Like you're out.
Yeah.
The old hide his sneakers, take away his jersey. Don't let him get anywhere. Cut off his key card so he can't get in the facility. Whatever you got to do, and make sure he just gets the day off. And he's puts his feet up and does his thing for a night. And it's tough because I think it's 5 of the last 7 they've lost. They've slipped in the standings. I know it's tight, in the West, and it's going to be really hard. And you never really want to be in a position to punt games. But this could be one where you could give them a day off. And again, if you could spot it, and there should be opportunities. They're not advancing in the NBA Cup. So I think there are going to be opportunities to do almost like an extended rest where you give him one game off, but it really ends up turning into 3 or 4 days. Then that might launch him back to a place where he feels really good for the next series of games. And then you may need to look at the calendar and look for the next spot to be able to do that. It might be something you need to do once every month moving forward. Just, hey, we're going to, it is what it is. We're going to punt this game and call it what it is and go. Because your goal here is not to, yes, you want to be top 6, but it's, you want to make an actual run. It is not just, get into the playoffs. That shouldn't be the goal there. It should be to do something more. And then, of course, the obvious answer is you got to really start thinking about what do we want to do as a team? Are we content with where we are? Or do we need to push some of the chips forward and really go out there and try to make a big move for a guy that can allow us to spot? Because it's not just LeBron. At some point, you're going to want to take some of the load off AD too.
Yeah, sure.
And really start to, all right, we got to get that third guy. We need one more guy here. Or do you say, you know what, all right, tonight, the defense isn't all that great anyway. We'll just go full on offense and we'll race up and down the floor. We'll shoot 1,000,000 3-pointers. I know they don't really do that, but we'll try our best, right? To, with Russell Reeves and connect and hey, go nuts. I want, if I'm JJ Redick and staff, I want you all taking a minimum of 15 threes tonight, all three of you, and launch and see what happens in one of those games. I mean, they did it in Boston last year, a game they had no business winning. They came out and took it to the Celtics because that's how they played in a game that they were really, quite frankly, trying to punt
Yeah.
for longevity purposes. So I think that's the approach you need to think about.
Keith, everybody is so eager to put players into one bucket or another. I don't like it, but I'll ask you this. Is LeBron, as what I've seen going around on social media, washed at this point?
Oh man, no. He's not LeBron carries the team all by himself to the playoffs anymore. And anybody who thinks he still should be, I mean, that's absurd at this point. The fact that he is out there, he's still an all-star. Like there's no question. This is not going to be an all-star berth based on, well, he's LeBron James, so we have to give him one. Like that's not a thing. Like he's still playing great. He's still one of the best playmakers in the league. Can still, score when he needs to. I think the biggest slips have come defensively.
Mhm.
Like I think I still say for one possession, like give me LeBron because he's so smart. He's probably going to blow up whatever you're trying to do, and he can guard guys. But that's asking him to do that 82 games worth for 100 possessions a night. That's not going to be a thing. And quite frankly, I don't think the Lakers even really care that much that it's not a thing. Like nobody should be expecting that at this point of his career. But offensively, yeah, he's still a guy. He's just what is he? He's not a system player, right? Like he's a
Sure.
system player now. So but I mean, and he's more than that. I'm trying to go for the cheap joke, but he's he's good still. I don't think we're in a spot where we need to think at all about calling him washed. Like that's way too far.
Look, he's in a shooting slump right now. That's certainly been a concern. He does look tired, but we've also seen, what was it, a month ago when he just absolutely exploded against the Sacramento Kings and went nuts and won the game for the Lakers in the fourth quarter. Like we're not that far off from that. I do think it's clear that he's running on fumes. He looks exhausted out there on the floor, but there's still good basketball in LeBron James. And maybe it does come down to you need to rest him because you know what, even if you drop the games where he rests, you're not getting a LeBron that's helping you win games right now anyway. So your net result, if you can get him back to being LeBron James by letting him rest a bit more and maybe playing fewer minutes, then it's going to be a net positive for the Lakers. So maybe a shift here in strategy for LA moving forward with how they manage LeBron James. Certainly something we'll keep an eye on. I'm curious in the comments section, guys, let me know what you think about LeBron James and where the Lakers should go with him from here. What's the best plan for getting the best out of him right now? How would you do that? Let me know in the comments section. Let's talk about one other Laker before we move on, and that's Dalton Knecht. Some insight revealed into his draft slide, why he fell all the way to the 17th pick. And it sounds bizarre, but apparently there's something to do with him not liking to read. And a team wasn't thrilled with that in the interview process, and that was part of the reason why he got pushed down in the draft.
Yeah, I don't even know what to make of that. That's like the questions they
really
ask the
push him
guys.
down because of that. Like, I don't know.
Right? Yeah, I kind of that. I don't know. The age stuff, sure, like fully get that there. And it's funny. There is a shifting mindset within the NBA right now, and it's especially being driven by, hey, we're a very expensive team. We have apron issues. We're a contender. They don't necessarily mind an older player because we probably need somebody to come in, fill a rotation spot for us right now. So they're happy to get a guy who is 23, maybe even pushing 24, because the idea is, all right, but yeah, is there a ton of upside left? No. But by the time we need them to play, they're probably going to be more ready to step in and play for us, year one. And then we'll figure it out towards the end of the rookie scale contract. I think they see it as those are the spots we're going to continue to cycle through on our roster. So why not get these guys in that can really help right now? So that is part of it. The dog is demanding. He's playing the role of Studio Stu today.
He's like, you will pay attention.
And right now he's under my desk, like losing his mind. So, but yeah, anyway, so that part, sure. I mean, I know he tested well at the combine and everything, but there's always questions about, let's call it what it is, a white perimeter players, athleticism is almost always going to be in question. There's just, that's part of the story with it. One of the big things that came up was, is he going to be strong enough to hold up? Because there were questions. All right, he looks good for a 6'6" guy. Is he going to be able to hold his own on perimeter, or are we going to have to play him more as a forward? And if we do that, is he going to be able to hold up strength wise and all those things? All that's obviously been answered. He's fine. He's not going to make all defense teams, but he's fine. He does fine out there. So yeah, I think those are the real questions. Yeah, he does interviews. I mean, I know some teams who prize the interview process and like it's a huge part of their evaluation process, and there's other teams that are like, hey, we don't even often interview the guys we draft. Part of it because we're trying not to tip off that we're interested. So I don't really know what to make of that.
I wonder, maybe he lied about the $100 bill taped to the back of the playbook. Maybe that was the problem with Dalton Knecht. That's another terrible
who went to his
draft
birthday
day
party?
reference.
Who went to his birthday party?
Who went
That's
to? Did the whole team not go to his birthday party? Right, what happened here? Anyway, I do think it's a combination of all those things. It's the age, it's all that stuff. And from the story that was out, like Rob Pelinka even called Knecht, because Knecht didn't come in and work out for the Lakers. He called when they realized, oh my God, he could actually be there at 17 for us. Rob Pelinka called and said, like, hey, on your word, is there something we don't know? Like, is there a reason why other teams who got him in and got a look at him are passing on him? What is happening here? And they said, no, he's ready to work. He's ready to go. So, it worked out, obviously, for the Lakers. He's been a good player. There's reasons why he slid. I think the whole, he doesn't like to read thing. Well, I think from being a teacher, most kids don't like to read. That's a pretty normal thing. He was just honest about it in that section. If that really caused him to slide, then somebody's draft evaluation process needs to be revamped if that was truly the problem.
Yeah, now we're going to have a whole range of literacy fanatics coming in.
This year's draft interviews, every prospect is coming in with a stack of books in their hands.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're going to be like me here with all my new books. Here we go.
There you go.
All here.
I'm ready for your questions.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's going to be how it goes down. Yeah, I think too. I think if we get like the people who are a little bit more serious about it, I think the most of it was the age-related stuff. There were questions on not athleticism-wise. There were those. I already talked about that. But offensively, does he have a good enough handle to get his shot off? And we've seen that at times that has popped up. There's been times where he's still a little bit more dependent on having others create looks for him against certain matches. I think that's been popped out a bit more as a starter than it did as a reserve. But he's also a rookie. I don't care how old he is. He's still a rookie. And you have to give these guys time to figure out and adjust. And he's not even with the age stuff, he's not 30. Like there's still, time for him to improve his handle. I think that's probably the number one thing he needs to tighten up. And then, once he figures that stuff out, he obviously knows how to use his body to create contact and get to the basket. So I think there were real reasons for it, but teams panic. I mean, we saw it with Cam Whitmore a couple years ago. He slid very much in the draft, projected to be a top 10 pick, slid all the way to the back half or almost the back end of the first round. And with that one, there ended up being injury concerns. And that's where, like, Rob Pelinka is saying, like, hey, wait a minute. Like, is somebody flagging this kid? Is there a knee injury or a back injury or something we don't know about that's here that's popped up? And, like, we just haven't gotten word on. And that's where now in the draft process, the way it's going to work now with this moving forward, with a lot of the sharing of medicals and all that stuff, that's like now a thing like that should help alleviate a lot of that. But yeah, it was a little bit of a weird process, but obviously to the Lakers' benefit.
All right, let's get on here to two-way contract moves. Keith, I know you've got a list of two-way moves that we've seen happen around the NBA here.
Yeah, so over the weekend, we saw the Charlotte Hornets that they are in need of guard depth. LaMelo Ball is out at least a couple weeks with a calf strain, so they needed another guard. They picked up Isaiah Wong, who has been playing really well in the G League for Salt Lake City. I had a nice year last year for Indiana in the G League, then moved over to Salt Lake City, and now he'll be on a two-way with the Hornets. So they get him one more ball handler. He's more of a scorer than he is a playmaker, despite being point guard size, but they just need one other guy who can handle the ball on some nights if they need to, because they don't want to overextend guys like Seth Curry and that in their lineup. The Hornets are, despite LaMelo Ball going out, getting a little bit healthier. Nick Richards returned to the lineup the other day. Mark Williams sounds like that returns right around the corner.
Yeah.
I'm starting to worry with Mark Williams. It might be one of those, like, what could have been. Like, is this guy ever going to be healthy enough to actually make a difference? So we'll see with that. And then the other two-way move, the Philadelphia 76ers, who Joel Embiid continues to be out of the lineup. Andre Drummond went down with a pretty ugly ankle sprain the other night. They needed just another big body. They didn't have big guys on their two ways, so they're bringing in Pete Nance. He's the brother of Larry Nance Jr., son of Larry Nance, who played for years with the Cavs in the NBA. Pete Nance himself had a finished the year with the Cavs last year. He's going to come in on a two-way. They're moving on from Lester Quinones, who is there on a two-way. They're going to move on from him to open up spot. In Charlotte, it was Jared Rhoden, who got waived there. So a couple two-way moves, not going to be major things, but teams plug in some holes, and that's what you need your two-way guys to do at this point in the season.
Yeah, and that's exactly what teams are doing there. Gosh, I hope the 76ers can eventually get healthy, because the clock is ticking for that team.
Hey, they're 3-7 in their last 10. That's a heck of a lot better than the 1-7 they were in their first 8. So
yeah,
you'll take it.
Maybe the slow climb out of purgatory there. All right, let's go here. The Jazz looking to trade veteran players. So there's names like Jordan Clarkson, Colin Sexton, Keith are permanently on the trade block. Our old friend John Collins as well. I was talking to someone the other day about this, about how it was a running bit on our show about John Collins just constantly being in the trade rumors for years and then never moved by the Atlanta Hawks. Now he gets to Utah finally, and he's right back in trade rumors. But the Jazz have a lot of incentive. They're clearly, they're bottoming out. They're going to try to capture the flag, and they have a lot of incentive to move off of their veteran players on the trade market this year.
Yeah, obviously everything Utah is doing is going to be centered around Lauri Markkanen moving forward. Like that's their guy. Just as a reminder for everyone, he cannot be traded this year. Purposely did his renegotiation and extension late enough that he avoids being traded. Trade restriction lifts the day after the trade deadline. Trade deadline February 6th. We'll start pumping it now. We'll be live trade deadline day. Hopefully with a lot to talk about, but 2 months from now, which is also crazy that it's that close already to trade deadline time. Trade season unofficially opens December 15th, when the guys who the vast majority of guys who were signed over the summer can be traded. So Collins, he's having a really nice year, like for the Jazz. He's played pretty well defensively. He's moving well. He's hitting the glass again in a better way. It seems like whatever went on with him with the finger injury in his last year in Atlanta, he's figured that out and is shooting well again, finishing well inside. John Collins is having another nice year. Colin Sexton continues to play well. Jordan Clarkson. Here's the other thing, sneaky with the Jazz too. All those guys have money into next year. Like if you're watching on YouTube, Trevor's got the cap sheet up. If you were to wipe out even 2 of those guys, the Jazz have like no money. It's Markkanen and a whole bunch of guys on small contracts. So they'd be in a spot definitely where they could look at, a ton of cap space and a good high draft pick. That could be a recipe to rebuild very quickly. Yeah, and that's something that the Utah Jazz are definitely going to look to do here under Danny Ainge, and we'll see. I mean, even Walker Kessler is still a name that's out there in the market as well, but it's their veterans that you would expect them to really make a push to try to move on from here at the before the trade deadline again, which plenty of time, February 6th. We'll see if these guys are able to make some moves here. Last thing we've got here, the Steph Curry says the Warriors need to shorten their rotation. Part of the Warriors' success has been they've got fresh legs on the floor at all times because they've been running, as crazy as it sounds, like a 12 and sometimes 13-man rotation.
And Steph Curry saying, yeah, maybe this isn't going to ultimately work out so well for us. And we may need to go with the more traditional rotation just because we need the sake of consistency and we need to build that chemistry and all of that out there on the court. So maybe a shift coming here for Golden State, Keith.
Yeah, and this is the classic story of when you're winning, everything is great. When you start losing a few games, all of a sudden it's, hey, I'm not really cool with playing 15 minutes one night and two the next. And Curry called out Moses Moody was an example. He called out like guy doesn't ever know if he's going to play or not. Kyle Anderson, he mentioned like is not getting consistent minutes. And this has been a major departure. Steve Kerr for a while there had one of the more rigid rotations. You remember Steph played the entirety of the first quarter, would come out, sit the first 6 minutes of the second quarter, and then play the final 6 minutes. That was pretty much the rotation outside of blowouts that they used in the first and second halves. There, because the second half they repeated it, played the whole third, sat first six, and then came back in for the last 6 minutes of the game. And Draymond Green, similar type deal. He was usually one of the earlier subs because they'd bring him back in when Steph was out in the second quarter. So it's interesting. I think it worked well for a while, but NBA players are creatures of habit. They want to know I'm going to play. I'm going to get my 20, 25 minutes, even if that's 20 to 25 coming off the bench. They've been messing around with the starting groups a little bit here. They lost DeAnthony Melton, who is playing pretty well for them. Buddy Hield's now in the down cycle of Buddy Hield, where it looks awesome for a few weeks, and then there's a few weeks where it doesn't look so great, and then it comes back around. So they're just figuring it all out on the fly. Like I assume they're going to shorten the rotation a little bit, probably by a player or two, and then we'll see where it goes from there.
And right now, the Warriors, a little bit of a slide here. They've lost their last 4 games. That's particularly troubling. And in the West, that's knocked them down to the 4 seed. The Houston Rockets, how about them? 8-2 in their last 10 is the 2 seed of the West right now. The Memphis Grizzlies, Keith, they were able to hang in there while they were getting just hammered by injuries. And now here they are, Memphis 14-7, the 3 seed in the Western Conference as Golden State has slipped. This is going to be, I think, the West. The Mavs were out of the play-in for a while. Now they're the 5th seed. I think we're going to see a lot of movement up and down in the standings throughout the Western Conference over the course of the season. It's going to be interesting to watch here because there's a lot of really good teams that are going to be kind of jockeying for position. I personally think they're all competing to come in second behind OKC, but we'll see if these teams can make a run at it. I mean, the Rockets are only half a game behind and did get a win over OKC the other night.
Yeah, and we're waiting to see, right? Are the Thunder not the Thunder, the Nuggets and the Timberwolves, who are down 9th and 11th right now in the conference. Are they going to put it together and start making a real run here? Yeah. Minnesota's starting to show some signs. I think they're starting to figure it out. Denver, Aaron Gordon came back. He was back the other night. So let's see if they can start putting together a run too. But yeah, it's we definitely get a lot going on here in the West. And we're going to see if some of those teams can run some of the upstarts down for sure at the top of the conference.
All right, everybody. That's going to do it for today's show. Make sure you do subscribe right here to the NBA Front Office Show on YouTube. And don't forget to follow us over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts as well. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.